Breaking news as government job cuts erupt 2,000%. Now, in addition to that, we're going to show you guys data that is showing job cuts are up 53% year over year. And also, we have found 3 states minimum, 3 states, that is Texas, Kansas, and Washington, that have more job cuts right now than they did during the 2009 GFC. So I find this morning's job numbers very suspicious, being that they say that unemployment went down to 4.1% and the economy added 250,000 jobs. So I'm suspicious, Mitch. I'm not sure if this is because the election is next month. Either way, Mitch Wexler and I are going to go under the hood and we're going to show you guys all of the most recent labor market data. The second segment, we're going to show you guys what's called the Challenger Report, and that's going to show you guys that government job cuts are up 2,000%. I'm going to end this video off by showing you guys the revisions that the government keeps making. I've started a little bit of a collection because they keep changing the data. Before we dig into all this stuff, Mitch, happy Friday, sir, and good morning. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, considering the fact that I didn't know it was Friday. I thought it was Thursday. So
yeah.
We've been hammering at this again since early this morning, so you kind of lose track of time.
I don't know how many times I've asked you what day it was, Mitch. I thought it was a Sunday. It was really a Tuesday. I mean, we are working round the clock to uncover what's going on, to give America a fighting chance at making it through the other side of the economic collapse that's coming. Now, you guys, what we're going to do is we're going to start by going into segment 1, which is going to go over all of the most recent labor market data, starting with the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This came out Friday this morning at 8:30 a.m., October 4th. And what we're going to do is go to page 20, which is household data table A9. And we're going to scroll to the bottom here. And I want to show you guys a few things. Now, under where it says full or part-time, and also just to let you guys know, they just changed how they're doing the data. So we're going to compare these 2 columns right here. This is the year over year comparison. This is the month over month. And they did a little bit of a sneaky thing, Mitch. They did this. They put not seasonally adjusted and seasonally adjusted. Whenever they do seasonally adjusted, a lot of times that pushes a narrative. So what we want to look at is the raw data, the not seasonally adjusted data. Starting with full-time jobs, you guys can see from August to September, we've lost 251,000 full-time jobs. Now, here's what's also absolutely insane. Now, I haven't seen this, Mitch, before, but for part-time jobs, okay, we went from this number to this number, which represents an increase in part-time jobs. If you believe this info, could be double job postings, but this is saying that we gained 948,000 in 1 month part-time jobs. Very, very interesting. Now, when it comes to multiple job holders right here, you guys can see that this actually skyrocketed up. As far as multiple job holders, that increased by 412,000 people. So another 412,000 people got a second job, more than likely because they need to afford to live. The full-time jobs continue to be gutted and part-time jobs continue to attempt to replace them. When we look at the ADP Pay Insights that came out 2 days ago, you're also going to see right here that the year-over-year change in annual pay has gone down for both job stayer and job changer, and it dropped pretty drastically for job changer, going from 7.3 to 6.6%. Here's the unemployment rate, guys. You can see that right here, going to 4.1%. Still that upward trajectory, suggesting that we are headed or we are already in recession. When it comes to real median household income, this actually went up. You guys can see that right here in 2023 to 80,610. Now, this is adjusted for inflation. And I want to remind you guys that even though that skyrocketed up, or at least it looks like that, right? It's still not higher than 2019. Now, all this data is going to make sense here in a minute. Mitch Wexler, question for you, sir. Did unemployment go down specifically because elections are next month? Why or why not?
No, unemployment didn't go down. Unemployment went up. That is complete fraud on behalf of the government. And the simple proof is, look at the amount of layoffs that we've gone over in these videos in the last 4 videos. The amount of layoffs is going like this. Well, if your layoffs are going like this, then how can unemployment be going down? There's no truth in that statement. It's abject fraud being promoted by the government, period, end of paragraph.
Yeah, and I'm going to show them too when we get to our next segment, the Challenger report, that again, job cuts are up 53% year over year, yet they're saying that the unemployment is going down. I mean, do they think that we're stupid, Mitch?
Apparently.
Are we though?
No,
the
ones that are suffering from terminal stupidity are the ones that are putting that crap out that's fraud, because in reality, you know there's a problem. You are creating the fraud. People have told you you're creating the fraud, and that makes you a co-conspirator.
Okay.
That is the definition of terminal stupidity.
Let me ask you this question this way. Does this revised data, and I'm going to show you guys more revised data, but does this revised data help or hurt the current administration?
No, because all it does is it proves that the current administration doesn't give a damn what the truth is. They want to create a narrative for whatever purpose, and everybody knows what that purpose is. But the bottom line is the narrative is built on a fraud. And that's really why we've been doing these videos for the last 40 days. We're exposing the fraud for what it is. And I'm sorry, but anybody is associated with the fraud and isn't doing anything about it, you are a fraudster. And at certain points, you are a criminal. Be careful.
But Mitch, can't we make the argument that there's enough apathy, right? There's enough apathy or non-care in the US that data revision, most people aren't even going to know about any of the revisions, and they're going to look at that and they're going to believe it. Isn't it fair to say, as a result of the apathy, that actually might help the current administration, meaning that most people aren't like us going under the hood? I mean, what is your thought about the apathy?
We are where we are partly because people want to believe and they don't want to do the heavy lifting to help themselves. They believe that the cavalry will come and help them. But we can switch gears here just for a second, and all you have to do is look at Florida, North Carolina, and Tennessee right now, right here today. When this administration offered $750 to help people, given the hurricane damage that has occurred, you have banks that physically are not even on the ground anymore. You can't get food in a grocery store. What the hell do you think good is going to do with $750 versus going out and spending billions on missiles? You got one job to do, government. That's protection and defense and welfare of your citizens. You effed this up beyond belief. FEMA is bankrupt, and that is why you offered $750, which does absolutely nothing. You've got minimal resources on the ground, and had this occurred, let's say 8 or 9 months ago, you have a full-blown impeachable offense sitting here. All of these things are connected. This is all fraud. You know, we didn't make this stuff up. We didn't make the numbers up. The truth is in the numbers. All you got to do is read it. So coming back to your issue of is apathy part of this problem? Yeah, but in reality, that apathy has to be over, because everybody that's seeing these videos, you are your own cavalry. You cannot clearly depend on the government to come in and rescue you under these circumstances. They don't have the money. They just proved it. Here's $750, go away.
I really want to get to the Challenger report, but I have a discussion I want to talk to you about. I mean, isn't it fair? First of all, I personally think they're going to make a revision to the 948,000 part-time jobs. I think there's going to be a revision. They did the revisions last year for 818,000. I think there's going to be a revision for this 948. I think it's there because of the election. But, here's the problem with these revisions. The revisions allow apathy to grow. If they're making revisions and, hey, everything's fine, then the apathy and the non-care is just going to increase. And these revisions are actually going to kill certain people. If you're going to revise data to make the economy look stronger than it actually is, you blindside people. Would you agree with that statement, Mitch?
The apathy, be it at the government level and at the individual level, is what has created this fraud. And this fraud is a global fraud. This debt that has been created will not be paid off. These governments are terminally bankrupt. And the sooner this gets recognized, and you're starting to see it now with all these layoffs. So apathy in reality will equal bankruptcy. If A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. That's where we're headed. So the reality of the situation is that everybody has got to stand up. And I've been hammering on the last couple of videos on this. You can't sit back and expect somebody's going to help you. And this idea, well, I don't know, and I'm not sure. Well, we're helping you as best we can, A, by exposing it, B, giving you resources to be able to stand up in front of the ARBs, but the exposure to understand how this fraud is committed. They take $1 from you, they leverage that up, give or take 20 to 1, and Lord knows how many times in the mortgage-backed securities this stuff has been cut and moved off. And I've had the opportunity in the last 40 days to speak to hundreds of different types of people from different walks of life. An 84-year-old vet, indigenous people, sovereign people, attorneys, bankers, a central banker, okay? They all recognize what the problem is now because it's getting exposed, but they're beginning to see, okay, it's being exposed in my family, in my subdivision, in my neighborhood, in my community, and they're realizing, no, we have to take control of this because the people who are in charge are fraudsters. Yep. Anybody that's 100%. Promoting this and not stopping this, you're a fraudster.
And on top of that list, we're also, yesterday I talked to an elected official, and I can't give their name yet, but the elected official, they just got elected. And when they started their job, they're like, there's no training. They literally have no training at all. They don't even know what to do. So we'll go over that, at a later video. I'm really excited. But Mitch, let's now segue into the Challenger report. And let me show the viewers first, Texas, Washington, and Kansas. Here's Texas. In 2023, we had 24,000 layoffs, okay? In 2009, all right, during the GFC, there was 23,388 layoffs, which means in 2023, we had more layoffs than 2009 in Texas. That's also true when we look at Washington, and only Washington is in way worse shape than Texas from that standpoint. You guys see here in 2023, Washington had 21,446 layoffs. In 2009, they only had 10,496. So Washington is way worse so far than the entire GFC. Kansas is just, it's absolutely shocking. Kansas has never, and this data goes back to the year of 1998. Kansas, the entire state, has never in the history of being a state, at least going back into the year 1998, had this many layoffs. Look at this, guys. This is 2023. They stopped reporting 2024. And the only reason I even went to Kansas is because I noticed there's a bunch of warm reports in Kansas City, probably result of that GM plant closure. We already made that video, but regardless, it's blowing up in Kansas. Total layoffs, 23,267. 2009, 13,954. During lockdowns, guys, okay, 15,642. There are more layoffs going on right now in Kansas than when we got locked down as a country. Here's the Challenger report right here. This is for September 2024. And I'm going to read a few things. This is a great report. This will be linked in my description. I suggest every single person read this because it gives us additional data that we can compare to what the government is feeding us. US-based employers announced 72,821 job cuts in September, a 4% decrease, but that's month over month. And I hate how they just flip-flop, Mitch, from month over month to year over year, because they're saying, yeah, it's down, right? Or it's flat, but it's up. How is it flat? It's up 53% year over year. You see what I'm saying, Mitch? It's like even the Challenger report can't help themselves. Job cuts are flat in September. They're not flat in September, you guys, if they're up 53% year over year. Okay, just FYI. Now, in the third quarter, companies announced plans to cut 174,000 jobs. That's down 16%, but it's up, again, 19% year over year. All things are up so far. And yet again, I'm saying, but the unemployment rate went down. Like, how's that? That's not even possible. All right. For the year, companies have announced 609,242 job cuts. That's up 0.8% from the 604 announced during the same time period. So announced 0.8%, right? See that? But reality, 53%. I think we can say, Mitch, that these companies, CEOs, the Fed, are all, even the financial advisors, most of them, there's some good ones, I just don't know any, they're all overly optimistic. I'm putting an arrow right here because this is when the Fed started doing quantitative tightening and raising the federal funds rate. So I put a question here, does quantitative tightening work? Well, look at the chart. It goes absolutely wacko. About 6 months after QT, the whole labor market started going wacko. So it's like the Federal Reserve is shaking it up right now. We're at an inflection point now where the labor market could stall or tighten. It will take a few months for the drop in interest rates to impact employer costs as well as consumer savings accounts. I underline that because remember, you guys, a couple days ago, the government made revisions to our personal savings and gave us a 68% boost. I'll get to that here in a minute. Now, I also wanted to give you guys a warning. This happened to me during 2009 when I lost my job. I couldn't get another job at Walmart. So this is warning you, if you have high skills and high wages, you're not likely to get a seasonal job. That happened to me. Now, which industries are cutting the most workers? Take a look at this. This is interesting. Now, technology is leading most job cuts, but it is down. Just a reminder, 2023 was horrible for tech. 2024 is also horrible, but it is down 23%. Now, one of the reasons we may not be seeing these tech layoffs in the unemployment numbers is because they generally come with a severance package. And if they're getting a severance package, they are not counted in the unemployment numbers. Now, of the top industries, look at this, and I underlined this, only government is cutting at a faster pace than last year. And that's really all they talk about the government. They don't really mention, Mitch, that government job cuts are up 2,000%. I don't know why they don't mention that in detail like they're doing every other job niche, but government job cuts, as you guys are about to see, is absolutely skyrocketing. Now, utilities is number 2, actually. Utility job cuts are up 691% year over year. Once again, utility and energy job cuts are up 691% year over year. This data will be linked in my description. Apparel or consumer discretionary spending, I would say, is up. Those job cuts are up 270% year over year. Transportation and industrial manufacturing, why that's in the same category, I do not know. But the job cuts are up year over year, 248%. Now, Mitch and I also did a video about teachers and teacher layoffs. And here's case in point. Education has announced 220% more cuts in 2024 compared to last year. This also goes into artificial intelligence. I really love this report. So they're saying as far as AI cuts, it's pretty much all in technology. Go figure. It's probably the developers, Mitch, of that technology. So they had, as a result of artificial intelligence, 12,542 layoffs in the tech industry. They literally made a program to replace themselves. U.S. employers announced 403 hiring plans in September. This is down 32% year over year. And I'm going to show you guys, take a look at this. This is the top 5 industries. Look, and again, they didn't even mention nothing about the government, Mitch. Look at this. Nothing. I put a wow right there because look at the increase. In 2023, government job cuts were only 1,679. Right now in 2024, and by the way, we're not even done with this year yet, they're at 37,739. This is proof positive data. The municipalities in the states are broke. If they were not broke, they would not have done 2,000% increase in job cuts. I highlighted a couple of states. Obviously, we talked about Texas, but look at the District of Columbia, also massive. There's no other area, Mitch, like this exceeds even Kansas City. The District of Columbia, the layoffs there, unbelievable. It goes from 2,200 in 2023 for year to date to 34,000. Also, you're seeing weakness in Ohio. So very, very interesting because Ohio has been pretty solid as far as the housing market. This has also broken down the different types of markets like aerospace, automotive, and it will tell you the percentage change in job cuts. And look at this. I mean, everything is pretty much up drastically. A few of them are down, but I did put an arrow next to the top 3. And here's government right here. Again, you guys, this is their data. Okay, this is saying government change right here, 2,147%. Number 2 is utility right here at an increase of 691%. That's insane. Number 3 is energy, which is kind of like utility, isn't it? At 359%. I just went and put circles around Q1 of 2023 and Q1 of 2024 because they matched 2007. See that? Here's 2007 right here, 195. You see that? We're exceeding right before we went into the GFC right now. That's the data. This is in the description. We get hit on all sides here. The hiring plans for this holiday season are at a minimum of a 9-year low. I say a minimum 9-year low because this data only goes back to 2016. And you guys can see the monthly average. So this is companies like, hey, we're going to hire, right? We're going to hire, things like that. This is what we plan. That's at a rate of about 53,000 right now. And to put it in perspective, before the lockdowns, we were at about 100,000 a month. So we have about half as many announced hirings than we did before lockdowns. Mitch, my question is, how can the data that I just went over suggest that the labor market is literally collapsing? Job cuts up 53%. Multiple states have more layoffs now than they did during 2009. How can that data suggest one thing, but the data from this morning suggests that the labor market is strong and resilient? Where's the discrepancy here?
Well, the discrepancy is that those who put out the message as of this morning in the press are the fraudsters. There's simply no correlation between these two. One is telling the truth, or as close to the truth as they can get based on the context that they've got, versus the press releases, which are not based on math and are based on a narrative. And we've hit on that a couple of times, but the public needs to understand that you have to take this in context, and you're not going to get the truth from the mainstream media. It doesn't exist anymore. Mainstream media is in violation of their own licensing, and in truth, if somebody wanted to prosecute them, it would be pretty easy to prosecute, because there's just simply no correlation between these two issues. And then as far as you want to cut it real close to see what the truth is, all that matters is the median household income, and you can wipe out 98% of these reports. The median household income tells you what the truth is. Mom and pop at their pocket level will tell you what the truth is. And that's why I said before, go to a grocery store. You want to do a survey? Stand in front of a grocery store and ask the questions. Then you get to the truth. All this other crap is part of a narrative for purposes of manipulating Wall Street. You have to understand who's doing the manipulating and why, because they're trying to drive the market. The report comes up, the market goes up, the market goes down. It's all part of the narrative. It's all part of the fraud. And just to make it one step further, fraud doesn't care what you think. Fraud doesn't even know you exist. Fraud is committed for the purposes of transferring money from your pocket into somebody else's pocket. That's why it's there. It shouldn't be there. Fraud is illegal. All these things we've talked about, USPAP, Texas Property Tax Code, or any property state tax code, state constitutions, US constitutions, these are the laws. These laws are being violated. Those who violate the laws are criminals. They are fraudsters. And now you're starting to see the truth of what we've been hammering at. When you've got this amount of people jettisoning up 2,000%, even at the government level, what happened this month versus where it was 4 months ago, given the fact that the indicators and the math are all lagging? In other words, the evidence was there months ago. It's just starting to surface now. The math matters.
Can I get your thoughts, Mitch, on why mainstream media is not literally, there's zero people talking about the 2,000% increase in government job cuts? Any idea why that's not mainstream?
I have two words: terminal stupidity. That's it.
Can you want to explain what that means to the viewers?
Yeah, they're brain dead. I mean, at the tail end of the day, that's what we're dealing with. I mean, these people can't add. They don't want to add. They want to promote a narrative. But the only thing that matters, it's one simple statistic: median household income. That's it. Everything spins off of that number. The people that were at the ports, why were they striking? Median household income. You don't have any money because you can't pay the medicine, you can't pay the rent. Why? Because you have a median household income. All this other crap and all these other narratives are just for purposes of committing a fraud on the public.
Yeah.
We're going to get $1 from the public. We're going to leverage it up 20 to 1. We're going to ship our crap across the globe so that all these other countries are also terminally bankrupt, courtesy of what in reality, I mean, the US is the biggest economic engine. We exported our crap around the globe. And that's why these other countries are terminally bankrupt along with the United States. And the sooner this stuff starts to get unwound, the less damage is going to occur.
Well, Mitch, things aren't going to start getting unwound until they stop lying to us and stop the fraud, which brings me to the last segment here, the government revisions. About a week ago, just in case you guys didn't know, the government actually in the White House made significant revisions. Let me show you. There was two massive revisions, and honestly, I think it's because of elections. One was to the GDP and one was to the personal savings rate. The upper graph represents the unrevised version. The bottom is the revised version. Basically, you guys, I'm showing you that in July 2024, before the revisions, it showed personal savings rate at 2.9%, but then they revised that from 2.9% to 4.9%. That's a 68% increase in the personal savings rate. So when we look at, oh, why did they do that? Let me show you what the White House released, and this was on September 26th, and I'm not making this up. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. Revisions show U.S. economy grew faster, boosting real incomes. I'm not sure what data they're looking at as far as real incomes, but it's just, oh my God. So I'm just going to read this last part right here. Obviously, they changed the GDP, but here's the bottom line. Today's data reconfirm that the economy is continuing its strong performance, powered by a healthier labor market that is producing jobs and real income growth for American workers. But I just showed you guys the real income growth, and it's not even there. They also changed the definition of recession, and they changed this. This one, like, gutted me, Mitch. This is the median sales price for new homes sold. The upper graph is the prior to revisions, and this shows a very clear peak and decline in median sales price for new houses. But after the revisions, they changed the pricing buckets. Look at that. They made it look balanced, like it's no problem. The prices are sustaining, even though they're not counting seller concessions against the value like they're required to by USPAP. Look at this. And again, to show you guys exactly what they did here, on the upper graph, this peaked at 500,000. Look at that. You see that? And then we have multiple months where it was in the 460 to 480 range. But look at this down here. The max that this gets to is 460,000. They literally erased this entire peak. It's gone. They saw an opportunity, and I highlighted that here. This is from Jason Walter. They actually responded. They created new pricing groups because it presented them with the opportunity to re-examine their pricing data and to recalculate the prices. In other words, they changed pricing groups because it presented them with an opportunity to change and re-examine the narrative. Mitch, my question to you is does the government have the power to make revisions at will?
Well, no, because that's fraud. Second thing is, as we've said in these videos, they build upon themselves. The amount of information that we're able to obtain every single video we put out gets bigger and bigger because the amount of evidence gets bigger and bigger. Those two Fred charts, I have a very interesting question. Were you lying before or are you lying now? Either way, you're lying. When we said about 5 videos back that they will move the goalposts, well, that's what you just read. They moved the goalposts. Well, we don't like that data, so we'll create another narrative. The only thing that matters is the median household income. Everything else is complete, utter BS. That is the reality.
Okay, well said. Well, obviously they have the power, right? Obviously they're doing something, and
not even there. In reality, there's 144 million taxpayers in the United States that have the power. Power is an illusion.
Yes.
If you let them have that power, they will run shotgun, and the net result is where we are today. This amount of fraud, I promise you, go to usdebtclock.org, and you're going to be stunned because not only do you see the US, and people don't realize it, go in the upper left-hand corner, the world debt clock is right beside it. Go and type in the worlddebtclock.org. And when you see it, you will see that these countries are terminally bankrupt. And they did that on the back of the taxpayers. Whether you're in the real estate tax paying side or on the income side, it doesn't matter. All of that debt, all of that fraudulently created hyper bond debt has been exported around the globe in the form of US treasuries, is bankrupt. This cannot be paid back. I don't know anybody that's got an extra $9,000 per month for the next 25 years to pay off this crap. It simply isn't going to happen. Therefore, unwind it in a human manner, or we will end up in a demolition derby.
Well, I think they're using the wrong side of the human emotion, the greed, the corruption, the fraud, the selfishness, the ego, you know what I'm saying? The arrogance, ignorance. I mean, it's very sad, Mitch. Can we go, and let's end this out now, okay? We've been talking for about 36 minutes. Once again, you guys, happy Friday. Thank you for making it this far with us. Check out the data for yourself. But Mitch, I want you, if you can, to read now, Why is Property Tax Illegal? Part 2. Mitch is an amazing writer, amazing mathematical wizard, and he's written, you guys, an additional document. This document will be in the description of this video. I get you guys an email. They're like, Travis, where's your home buying class? And just please, guys, hit more, okay? Under the video, just hit more. It brings the description. There's a whole bunch of links there. That's where the information is. Mitch, can you read this letter? And I'll throw it up on the screen right here for you.
Yeah, we'll post this document. I have to send a revision to Travis in a minute because I just saw an error in the debt clock. I spelled it wrong, but I'll fix that and send it to you. But the point was, I was on a very interesting call yesterday, a Zoom call with a lot of people. And I've spoken to a lot of people really in the last 40 days since all this started. And it's people from every walk of life. And I've touched on that issue in this video. And I'm thankful for being able to speak to these people and have people reach out to me by email, because it gives me the opportunity to literally think through what they're seeing through their eyes to help me break it down as close to the bone as I possibly can. And that's what we're doing in these videos. So I speak harshly, I speak fast, but that's with the sole purpose of driving the message home. A, you're not alone. B, we hear you. C, I cannot possibly respond to this amount of people, but I read a lot. So that's what I'm stating in this memo. And then you're not alone. And to that point, what can you do? Well, that's to take control of what it is through Travis, the course that he's got, the free course, so you can stand up on your own 2 feet. It's a step in the right direction. The bigger step would be joining forces with people in your neighborhood who are like-minded and understand what's going on here. So all this, why is property tax illegal, part 2, is in addition to what I did yesterday, just taking it up one notch, not with the math, but simply stating there's a lot of people that are now beginning to wake up and realize, A, we're not alone, and B, we have the power to make a change. It just has to come from the collective group. That's all I wanted to outline in this part 2 memo.
Will you just read this paragraph? I know you mentioned this a little bit in the beginning of the video, but I think we'd be doing a disservice to the viewers if you did not stop to read that paragraph there, sir.
Okay. So the average person is looking for someone or something to save him and make it better when times get tough. And we're here. As seen in the Tennessee, North Carolina, and Florida, the cavalry, being FEMA and the federal government, is so bankrupt that minimal resources have arrived, and the White House stated we will release $750 per person in FEMA assistance to help. What good is that when the banks are no longer standing and the food cannot be delivered? And we have people that we know. I actually have a cousin in the Carolinas, and Melody is in Tennessee. There are people that we know that are in harm's way, and this government is asleep at the switch.
Can you just finish and will you read that last part?
Yeah. Those thinking this government will help them just got a massive and very unfortunate dose of reality. Collecting billions in taxes to be levered into a system of fraud and corruption, that's bonds and missiles, while ignoring the plight of those affected by the natural disaster, is further proof of the fraud, and every fraudster should be removed from office.
Okay. Very good, sir. Very good. And you guys, that's going to be linked in the description. Don't forget to go to that, print these out, start passing this out, because I don't know, I got to say like 90% of people are still asleep at the wheel, even though there's writing on the wall. I mean, there's literally cracks everywhere. A lot of people ask too, Mitch, like, how can we help? Well, one thing is like, help other people. If you want to help us, first, you got to help yourself. And then after you've helped yourself, help someone else, especially in your community. What happened to the society that we were raised in, at least I was raised in, where people were helping each other? That's the country that I remember. That's how I'm going to live my life. That's how I want to respond to the community that I live in. Don't forget that, you guys. Do not allow them to divide us. Do not allow them to manipulate us. Do not allow them to create apathy in your life. Mitch, any closing words before we go?
Yes, to your point, what can you do in addition to what you're doing? These videos and these PDFs, why is it property tax illegal? If they can be pushed forward into any vehicle, any social media vehicle, be it X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, TikTok, I don't care. The more people that know, because there's 144 million taxpayers in the United States, the more power we gain, and then the more people in your own neighborhood will step up and say, yeah, we got a problem here and this has to be fixed. We don't know what the end result will be, but the bottom line is you can't sit here anymore and do nothing. This is all hands on deck. And even though somebody may say, well, I don't have the education, I don't know, I'm not sure, we're giving it to you. We're helping you. You don't have to be a mathematician or a rocket scientist to do this. Travis set up that course, and it's a very slick course. It'll walk you through to the point where you can stand in front of an ARB panel. It's not a guarantee you're going to win, but the education and the process and what is happening around you is unquestionably worth money to you. It helps you mentally, it helps you physically, it helps your life, it helps those around you, it helps your family. This is all good, but you can't sit there and say, I don't want to pay attention, or somebody else will do the lifting for me. That isn't going to work. And you can clearly see that now in North Carolina, Tennessee, and Florida. It doesn't work.
Well said, sir. And that's how we're going to end this out, Mitch. I really appreciate you, Mitch. Happy Friday to the viewers. Rebudget this weekend. I challenge you, seriously, rebudget and email me how much money did you save by rebudgeting. Take a look at your electric bill, your medical bill, your going out to eat, your subscriptions. Either way, save money, please, guys. And if you're out there trying to live your life, you guys know that we wish you luck and we hope you win.